I thought I knew what heartbreak felt like until I got a text from my fiancée saying she needed space. We had just picked out our wedding cake the week before. Everything seemed perfect. 3 years together, engaged for 6 months, planning our spring wedding. Then came that message, I need time to think. Dylan says I need to reconsider us. Dylan, her best friend. The guy who suddenly knew our relationship better than I did. I stared at those words on my phone screen, feeling my stomach drop. Something was very wrong, and I had a sinking feeling Dylan was at the center of it. Before I dive into how one person can poison a relationship from the inside, let me know where you are watching from. And if this story sounds familiar, hit that like button and subscribe. You will want to hear how this ends. My name is Cooper, and 3 years ago I met Amanda at a coffee shop in Portland. She was a kindergarten teacher with this warm smile that could light up a room. I was a software engineer, kind of quiet, but she brought me out of my shell. Our relationship grew naturally. We moved in together after a year, split everything fairly. I covered the rent on our two-bedroom apartment since I had signed the lease before we met, and she handled utilities and groceries. It worked. We worked. I proposed to her 6 months ago on the Oregon coast, got down on one knee right there on the sand as the sun was setting. She said yes before I even finished asking. We started planning immediately. Spring wedding, about 80 guests, nothing too fancy but meaningful. We had picked our venue, sent, saved the dates, and just last week, we had been at the bakery tasting cakes and laughing about whether to go with vanilla or chocolate layers. Then Dylan entered the picture. Well, he had always been in the picture, but recently he became the main character in our story, and not in a good way. Dylan was Amanda's college friend. They had known each other for 10 years. When I first met him 2 years ago, I thought he seemed like a decent guy. Funny, outgoing, always there when Amanda needed someone to talk to. I appreciated that she had good friends. I never felt threatened. But 6 months ago, Dylan broke up with his girlfriend of 5 years. It was messy. He took it hard, and suddenly he was around all the time. What used to be casual monthly coffee dates turned into 3 or 4 hangouts per week. Amanda said he needed support, that he was going through a rough time. I understood. I encouraged her to be there for her friend. That is when the comments started. Little things at first. We would be having dinner, and Amanda would mention something Dylan said. Dylan thinks it is weird that you always ask what time I will be home. I had explained that I only asked so I would know whether to cook dinner for both of us or just grab something quick for myself. But somehow in Dylan's interpretation, this became controlling behavior. Another time, Amanda came home upset because Dylan had pointed out that I never wanted to go to bars late at night with them. The truth was, Amanda had a class full of 5-year-olds every morning at 7:30. She was usually exhausted by 9 p.m. and rarely wanted to go out late on weeknights. This was her choice, her schedule, her responsibility as a teacher. But Dylan framed it as me holding her back from having fun. Then there was the emotional support criticism. I am the kind of person who needs some quiet time after a stressful day at work. I would come home, decompress for 30 minutes, then be fully present. Amanda had always understood this. She was the same way after dealing with 20 energetic kids all day. But Dylan told her that my need for space meant I was not emotionally available, that I did not really care about her feelings. I tried to talk to Amanda about it. I would explain the context, remind her of our actual dynamic, but she would get defensive. Dylan has been through this kind of thing, she would say. He knows what toxic behavior looks like. Maybe I have just been blind to it. That hurt. After 3 years of being nothing but supportive, respectful, and loving, I was suddenly the villain in a story someone else was writing. Things got worse quickly. Amanda started pulling away. Every normal interaction became suspicious in her eyes. If I asked about her day, I was prying. If I gave her space, I did not care. There was no winning because the narrative had already been set. I was toxic, and Dylan was the enlightened friend helping her see the truth. Dylan started sending Amanda articles. I saw them on her laptop one night when she left it open. Headlines like 10 signs you are in a toxic relationship and how narcissists manipulate their partners. He was building a case against me using psychology articles and internet wisdom, and Amanda was reading every word like gospel. I watched the woman I loved transform into someone I barely recognized. She started questioning everything. Why do you want me to text when I get somewhere safe? She asked one night. Because I care about you, apparently was not a good enough answer anymore. According to Dylan's interpretation, this was surveillance behavior. The breaking point came on a Tuesday evening in late September. I had a brutal day at work. A major project deadline, back-to-back meetings, the kind of day where you barely have time to breathe. I texted Amanda around noon saying I would probably be home late. She did not respond, which was unusual, but I figured she was busy with her class. I got home around 8 p.m., exhausted and hungry. I walked into our apartment and found Amanda crying on the couch. Dylan was sitting next to her, arm around her shoulders, looking up at me like I was some kind of monster. "See," Dylan said immediately. "He comes home late without even checking if you were okay. No consideration at all." I stood there confused. "I texted you at noon. I said I would be late." Amanda looked at her phone and I saw the realization cross her face that yes, I had texted, but Dylan jumped in before she could process it. "The fact that you are making excuses right now instead of apologizing is exactly what I have been talking about. This is classic manipulation. You are gaslighting her." I felt my blood pressure rising. I am not gaslighting anyone. I sent a text. She did not read it because she was talking to you all afternoon. "There it is," Dylan said, looking at Amanda with this knowing expression. "He is blaming you now. Do you see the pattern?" The argument exploded from there. I tried to stay calm, tried to explain, but every word I said was twisted into evidence of my supposed toxic behavior. Dylan kept interrupting, kept inserting his interpretation, kept positioning himself as Amanda's protector against me. Finally, Amanda stood up. "I cannot do this right now," she said, her voice shaking. "I need space. I need to think clearly without you confusing me." "Without me confusing you?" I repeated. "Amanda, I have never confused you. He is the one filling your head with this nonsense." "That is aggressive," Dylan said, standing up and stepping slightly in front of Amanda. "You need to back off." I was not being aggressive. I was frustrated and hurt, but I was not yelling or threatening or doing anything that warranted that reaction. But in that moment, with Dylan playing protector and Amanda looking at me with fear in her eyes, I realized I had already lost. The next morning, I woke up to find Amanda packing her clothes into suitcases. "Where are you going?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "I am staying with a friend," she said without looking at me. "I need time to clear my head and figure out what I want." "With Dylan," I said. It was not a question. She did not deny it. "He has a guest room. He said I could stay as long as I need." I watched her pack, feeling numb. This was really happening. The woman I was supposed to marry in 6 months was moving out because her best friend had convinced her I was the enemy. Dylan showed up 20 minutes later to help carry her stuff. He would not even look at me. Just loaded up his car with her suitcases, boxes of her books, her favorite blankets. Amanda left about half her things behind, said she would come back for them later. And then she took off her engagement ring, set it gently on the kitchen table, and walked out. I sat in that empty apartment for hours just staring at that ring. 3 years. 3 good years. And it took Dylan less than 6 months to destroy it all. For 2 days, I wallowed. I called in sick to work, barely ate, just replayed everything in my mind, trying to figure out where I went wrong. But the more I thought about it, the clearer it became I had not done anything wrong. Dylan had systematically poisoned Amanda against me, and she had let him. On day 3, I made a decision. I was not going to beg. I was not going to chase. I was going to protect myself and set boundaries, something I should have done months ago when Dylan first started his campaign against me. First, I changed the locks. The apartment was under my name. I had been renting it for a year before Amanda moved in. She had never been on the lease, had never paid rent. This was not me being petty. This was me protecting my space and my peace. I called a locksmith, had him come out that afternoon, and got a full set of new keys. Then I did something that might seem extreme, but felt absolutely necessary in the moment. I sat down with my laptop and went through the past 3 months of expenses. Really went through them. And what I found was eye-opening. Since Dylan had started his interference, Amanda had stopped contributing as much financially. She used to split groceries and utilities evenly, but lately I had been covering more and more. The Netflix account under my name that she used, the Spotify family plan, the gym membership I had added her to, her car insurance that I had been paying for the past 2 months when she said she was tight on money. Date nights that I always picked up the tab for because Dylan had convinced her that if I really loved her, I would not keep track. I made a spreadsheet, itemized everything. Rent for the past 3 months that she had not contributed to, even though she was living there full time. The furniture we had bought together that I had paid for in full. The vacation we took to Seattle in August where I covered the hotel and most of the meals. It added up to just over $6,000. Now when we were together and happy, I had never thought twice about any of this. I made good money. I wanted to take care of the person I loved, but we were not together anymore. And the person who had convinced her to leave had made it very clear that he knew what was best for Amanda's life. So I decided Dylan should put his money where his mouth was. I found Dylan's address through a mutual friend's social media post. Then I typed up a letter. Professional, polite, but firm. Dylan, since you have taken such an active role in advising Amanda about her life and have determined that you understand what is best for her well-being, I believe it is only fair that you also take responsibility for the financial consequences of your advice. Attached, you will find an itemized list of expenses related to Amanda's living costs for the past 3 months, totaling $6,247. As you have positioned yourself as the expert on our relationship and Amanda's needs, I trust you will understand that supporting her financially is part of that responsibility. Payment can be made via check or electronic transfer. Thank you for your prompt attention to this matter. I printed it out, attached the spreadsheet, and mailed it certified mail so I would know when he received it. I was not actually expecting him to pay. That was not the point. The point was to show him that his interference had real consequences. He wanted to play relationship counselor fine, but counselors usually send a bill. 3 days later, my phone rang. Dylan. I almost did not answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Are you out of your mind? He yelled as soon as I picked up. This letter, this bill, this is insane. Is it? I asked calmly. You said I was toxic. You convinced Amanda to leave. You are housing her now. Seems like you are the one taking care of her, so you should cover her expenses. That is not how it works. You cannot just send someone a bill because you are bitter. I am not bitter, I said, and I realized it was true. I was hurt, yes. But more than that, I was done. I am setting boundaries. I am setting. You wanted to be involved in our relationship. Now you can deal with the reality of what that means. Amanda has costs. You told her I was terrible for her. Great. You support her then. I will sue you, Dylan threatened. For what I have the lease agreement showing this was my apartment. I have bank statements showing I paid for everything on that list. I have text messages showing Amanda agreed to our financial arrangement. Go ahead and sue. I would love to see you explain to a judge why you think you can break up someone's relationship and face no consequences. There was a long silence. Then Dylan said, You are proving my point. This is exactly the kind of petty controlling behavior I warned her about. No, I said. Controlling would have been trying to stop her from leaving. Controlling would be harassing her to come back. I changed my locks and sent you a bill. That is called protecting myself. There is a difference, Dylan, but I do not expect you to understand it. I hung up before he could respond. Amanda texted me an hour later. What is wrong with you? Dylan showed me your letter. You are being ridiculous. This proves everything he said about you. I did not respond. What was there to say? She had made her choice. She had chosen to believe someone else's narrative over 3 years of actually living with me. That told me everything I needed to know. The first week was hard. I would come home to an empty apartment and feel the absence everywhere. Her coffee mug was gone from the cabinet. Her shoes were not by the door. The closet looked bare without her dresses. But I kept myself busy. I went to the gym every day. I called up friends I had not seen in months because Amanda and I had been so focused on wedding planning. I threw myself into a new project at work. My parents called asking about the wedding plans. I told them the truth. My mom was quiet for a long moment, then said, Honey, if she could be swayed that easily by someone else, she was not the one. My dad was more blunt. You dodged a bullet. Better now than after the wedding. They were right, but it still hurt. I heard through mutual friends that Amanda was not doing well. She was staying with Dylan, but she seemed unhappy, constantly complaining about everything. The coffee was wrong. The apartment was too cold. She missed her stuff. She missed her routine. Dylan was apparently getting a crash course in what it actually meant to have Amanda around 24 hours a day. The thing about Amanda is she needs a lot of reassurance. She needs someone to listen to her process her day, every detail, every small frustration. She needs validation constantly. I had learned this over 3 years. I knew when to listen actively and when she just needed to vent. I knew when she needed advice and when she needed someone to agree that yes, the parent who sent their sick kid to school was being inconsiderate. Dylan was learning all of this in real time without the foundation of love that made those quirks endearing instead of exhausting. On day 12, my phone rang. Dylan, again. But this time his voice was different, tired, defeated. Cooper, he said, I messed up. I messed up really badly. I did not say anything, just waited. Amanda is too much. I cannot handle it. She is here all the time and she is just so needy. Everything I do is wrong. The food I buy is wrong. The way I load the dishwasher is wrong. She cries every night. She is applying the same checklist to me now, saying I am not being supportive enough. I thought I knew what I was doing, but I was wrong about everything. And, I said, I was jealous, he admitted. When Sarah left me, I felt so alone. And I saw you and Amanda so happy about to get married, and I hated it. I hated that she was spending all her time planning a wedding instead of being there for me. So I convinced myself you were bad for her. I started pointing out normal things and making them sound toxic. I know that now. I was wrong. I am sorry. Okay, I said simply. Can you take her back? Dylan asked, and I heard the desperation. Please, I will pay the money. Whatever you want, just please come get her. I cannot do this anymore. I sat with that for a moment. 2 weeks ago, I would have given anything to hear Amanda wanted to come home. But now, sitting in my quiet apartment, finally feeling like I could breathe again, I realized something important. No, I said. What do you mean no? I mean no. She chose to believe you instead of me. After 3 years of living together, of building a life together, she took the word of someone on the outside over the person she was supposed to marry. That is not something I can just forgive. But I manipulated her, Dylan said. It was my fault. It was both of your faults, I corrected. You for interfering and her for letting you. A relationship cannot work without trust, Dylan, and she showed me she does not trust me. If I take her back, what happens next time someone tells her I am not good enough? What happens when her coworker or her sister or some random person on the internet convinces her I am the problem? I will always be defending myself, always trying to prove I am not the villain someone else says I am. That is not a marriage. That is a prison. Dylan was quiet. Then he said, She really wants to talk to you. She has my number, I said. She can call any time, but I am not promising anything. That evening, Amanda called. I saw her name on my screen and almost did not pick up, but I needed closure, so I answered. Cooper, she said, and I could hear she had been crying. I am so sorry. I was so stupid. Dylan told me everything. He admitted he was manipulating me. I should have trusted you. I should have believed you. Please, can we talk about fixing this? Can I come home? I closed my eyes. 3 months ago, those words would have been everything I wanted. But now they just made me sad. Amanda, I said gently, do you know why this hurts so much? It is not because you left. It is because you did not trust me enough to ignore someone else's poison. For 3 years, I showed you who I was. I was consistent. I was honest. I supported your career, your friendships, your dreams. And at the first sign of doubt planted by someone else, you believed him over me. I know, she sobbed. I know I messed up. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling. I will do anything. What happens next time? I asked. What happens when we hit a rough patch and someone else tells you I am the problem? How do I ever trust that you will not just leave again? She did not have an answer. You can come get your stuff this weekend, I said. Saturday afternoon works for me. I will make sure I am here to help you load everything up. That is it, she asked. 3 years and you are just done. You were done 2 weeks ago, I reminded her. I am just accepting it. Saturday came. Amanda showed up with her sister to help pack up the rest of her belongings. It was awkward but civil. I helped carry boxes down to the car. We did not talk much beyond logistics. This lamp is yours. That painting we bought together, you can have it. The coffee maker was mine before we met, so I am keeping it. At the end, she stood by her car and looked at me. I really did love you, she said. I know, I said. I loved you too, but love is not enough without trust. She started to say something else, but I had already turned to go back inside. I heard her car drive away and stood there in my empty apartment. Half the furniture was gone. It looked bare and sad, but it was mine, my space, my peace. The engagement ring was still sitting in my desk drawer. I looked at it sometimes not with regret, but with gratitude. Gratitude that I found out who Amanda really was before we got married, before we bought a house together, before we had kids. Dylan had accidentally done me a favor by showing me that the woman I loved was not strong enough to fight for us when it mattered. 3 months later, I am doing fine. Better than fine, actually. I joined a hiking group and made new friends. I got promoted at work. I started seeing a therapist not because I am broken, but because I wanted to process everything in a healthy way. She helped me understand that setting boundaries is not cruel. Walking away from someone who does not trust you is not giving up. It is self-respect. I ran into Dylan at a grocery store last month. He looked uncomfortable but approached me anyway. How are you doing? He asked. Good, I said honestly. I have been better, he admitted. I lost my best friend over this. Amanda will not talk to me anymore, says I ruined her life. I did not feel sorry for him, but I did not feel angry either, just neutral. You made your choice, Dylan. Actions have consequences. He nodded slowly. For what it is worth, you were good to her. Better than she deserved, probably. I hope you find someone who sees that. I did not respond, just continued my shopping and left him standing there in the cereal aisle. The truth is, I do not think about Amanda much anymore. Sometimes I wonder if she learned anything from this. If she will be more careful about who she lets into her head next time. If she will value trust and loyalty more than she did with me. But mostly I have moved on. I learned something important through all of this. I learned that you cannot love someone into trusting you. Trust is a choice they make every day. Amanda chose not to trust me, and that choice ended our relationship more definitively than any argument or betrayal could have. I learned to recognize red flags earlier, to see when someone outside a relationship is trying to insert themselves where they do not belong. To understand the difference between a friend who genuinely cares and someone who is projecting their own issues onto your situation. Most importantly, I learned that walking away does not mean you failed. Sometimes walking away is the strongest thing you can do. I could have fought. I could have begged. I could have tried to convince Amanda that I was worth choosing. But I respected myself enough to know that I deserve someone who does not need convincing. Someone who will protect our relationship instead of abandoning it at the first whisper of doubt. The apartment does not feel empty anymore. I bought new furniture, put up different pictures, made it mine in a way it never fully was when Amanda lived here. And when I come home now, I feel peaceful. No walking on eggshells. No wondering if some normal thing I did will be interpreted as toxic. No defending myself against accusations that have no basis in reality. I think about the wedding we will not have sometimes. The cake we picked out. The venue by the river. The vows we were going to write. Part of me is sad for what could have been, but a bigger part of me is relieved for what will not be. A marriage built on shaky trust would have crumbled eventually. Better it crumbled before we made it legal. Dylan taught me an unexpected lesson. Sometimes the people who seem like they are helping are actually hurting. And sometimes the people who are hurting think they are helping. His loneliness and jealousy poisoned something good, and Amanda let it happen. They both have to live with that. As for me, I am not bitter. I am not angry. I am just wiser. And when the right person comes along, someone who trusts me even when things get hard, someone who will not let outside voices drown out what we have built together, I will be ready. But until then, I am perfectly fine on my own. Sometimes the best gift someone can give you is showing you who they really are before you say I do. Amanda gave me that gift even if she did not mean to. And for that, as strange as it sounds, I am grateful. So what about you? Have you ever had someone try to sabotage your relationship? How did you handle it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who might need to hear it. Sometimes we all need a reminder that setting boundaries is not being cruel, it is being wise. Thanks for listening to my story, and I hope it helps someone out there who might be going through something similar. Take care of yourselves, trust your gut, and remember that you deserve someone who fights for you, not someone who runs at the first sign of trouble. Until next time.